Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. I am Heena Gambhir. Do you know that around 30% of hotels and restaurants, which is about 1/3 of them in the country, have actually shut down permanently since March 2020? 5 crore employees in the hospitality industry today are jobless, and the sector has seen losses of around 1.4 lakh crore rupees. Now, this, viewers, has been the impact of COVID pandemic on the hospitality sector. So on Urban Debate tonight at 8, we want to highlight the plight of this sector, the hospitality sector. With budget around the corner, it has sent SOS to the finance minister, to the chief ministers of various states, to the prime minister as well, seeking immediate help. The industry had just started recovering from the first and the second wave's impact. And then we had the year 2022, bringing in the third wave of COVID. Booking cancellations for Christmas and New Year celebrations, along with weddings and planned events due to the third wave, have resulted in another loss of about 200 crore rupees for the hospitality industry. So let's try and understand how bad is the situation right now with fresh restrictions coming due to the third wave, and what is the way forward for this particular sector. We have on the broadcast this evening Gurbaxish Singh Kohli, Vice President, FHRAI, President, Hotel and Restaurant Association of Western India. We have Param Kanampilly, who's Chairman and Managing Director of CHPL, the Fern Hotels. We have Pradeep, Shetty, Senior Vice President, Hotel and Restaurant Association of Western India, Satyen Jain, who is Director at the Pride Hotels in India, and Sagar, Daryani, who is co-founder, CEO, Wow, Momo Foods, and Vice President of the National Restaurant Association of India. So it's a mix of people representing hotels and restaurants across the country that we have for you this evening. Mr. Kohli, let me begin the discussion with you. Could you tell us firstly how badly has the hospitality industry been impacted because of COVID pandemic, because of the third wave that we are witnessing right now specifically?
Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I've been repeating this over and over again. It's almost like I've got this by heart by now. But unfortunately, this is one sector that has been hit the worst. It's the first to go down and the last to come up. And you were right when you said that about 30% of establishments, that includes hotel and restaurants in the country, are shut down permanently. Now, our estimated loss we have of the hospitality industry is a whopping sum of about 1.4 lakh crores. And not only should we calculate this in terms of monetary compensation or loss in monetary in the monetary bid, but we should see that how many job losses are there. And when we say 1.40 lakh crore is the revenue loss, we also add to that there are about 50 million jobs that were lost due to the pandemic. Now, these are colossal numbers, and which are unfortunately very, very true. And that's because of the successive waves and the continued disruptions that have caused this volatile economic environment in the sector.
Okay. Mr. Param, can you also tell us a little bit about how badly the sector was impacted during the two waves, and, for your hotel specifically, what kind of impact are you witnessing in the third wave?
In the first wave, we had miserable time in 2020. 2021, we slightly recovered during the last few months. Last few calendar months. And now we are coming to January 2022, and it's all back to zero. In 2021, at least the resorts were doing well. Right now, even the resorts are not doing well. 2021, we survived because our resort managed to this thing. We are operating about 88 hotels all over India and a few abroad, out of which at least we have about 20 resorts, and they kept the revenues going. That's also gone now. And the unreasonable timing of 10 o'clock at night for restaurants just destroys anyone's eating pleasure. What harm is there to make it 12? How many representations we have made, but yet it doesn't seem to fall on sensible ears. The industry is bleeding very badly. And if the telecast can do something to improve it or to create a consciousness among the bureaucracy and help us during the budget, it'll be good. Thank you.
Okay, well, the idea is actually to, highlight the kind of concerns that are there in the entire sector, because this was one of the few sectors in the country which were very badly impacted because of COVID pandemic. Mr. Jain, can you tell us, in your experience, how was the impact really? How badly has it impacted your hotel chain? And, what is it that you are currently witnessing?
Hello.
Mr. Satyen Jain?
Yeah, SP Jain here. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Jain?
Yes. Yeah, can you just repeat me? I couldn't hear.
No problem, sir. I was trying to understand from you how bad has been the impact for you and the impact that you're specifically witnessing during the third wave.
See, what happened from the first and second wave, we have somehow with great difficulty come out of it because of some working capital term loan was given by Government of India. Those money was used for the paying the salaries, power and maintenance of the property. After that, it was slightly recovering in last 2 months, 3 months, September to October to December, and we were expecting it will go on. We have slightly recovering our cost because earlier we were doing heavy losses. So after that, the third COVID, which is very badly affected because of the airline was shut down and the hotels, restaurant was asked to close, the bar was closed, banquet, all facilities are closed. So what happened? Then there is no room occupancy. People are not traveling. And all of a sudden, we could not cut down any cost also this time, because all the employees are on the payroll, all employees are coming. Now all our other expenses are on. So this has led us in bigger problem than last two COVID. Irrespective of effect of this COVID is not that strong. It is mild, but question is the fear psychology in the mind of the guest, and a lot of things are closed down. Are closed down. So the people traveling has no meaning. And this business travel is completely zero down. As far as resort also, the mostly people have come back who has gone for the end of the December for 31st and New Year. They also cut down, they cancel their last moment booking, and whichever who has gone, they cut down their trip instead of 5 days or 4 days, they cut down to 2 days and come back. So this third COVID has badly affected to the hospitality sector, particularly even business hotel as well as resort hotel. So this is not able to recover unless the whole activity comes to the back. Because unless banquet doesn't open, then other facilities also fully allowed to open. When government allows, then people can come out. Honestly speaking, now this COVID-3 is not that dangerous. It is not affecting too. People are getting treated in their own home. However, the fear psychology has not gone. Restriction has not gone. So all those restrictions are absolutely killing to the hospitality sector. And it is, as my colleague has told, 30% hotels are closed down. Millions of jobs is gone. Not the direct employee. Those who are directly working at this fine. We are somehow feeding them, giving them salary. What about indirect our people who supply the goods to us, who do the other services to us? They are being badly suffering. Because since we are not buying anything, we cannot pay the money and we don't have liquidity also. So those kind of the people who are the indirectly employed by the hospitality sector and tourism sector is also very badly affected. Yes, sir.
Okay. Stay with us, Mr. Jain. Let me now go across to Mr. Sagar Daryani as well. You are co-founder, CEO, Wow, Momo Foods, and also Vice President, National Restaurant Association of India. You are representing the restaurants of the country on the show. Could you tell us about the impact that you have witnessed because of the two waves of the pandemic? And, how is the situation right now during the third wave across the country?
Thanks, Heena, for having me here. So basically, the first two waves of COVID, on behalf of the NRAI, we did this survey and research with Technopack. And, we got to know that 25% of the restaurants across the country have shut shutters permanently post the first two waves. And I think more than 24 lakh people have lost jobs. So, it's become a question mark on our survival. And, when this third wave has come in, what is very disappointing is that, whatever learnings that we could get from the first two waves, the government has not even given us the chance to implement that learning. Imagining, all restaurants shut in Delhi, you have weekend curfews across states. So, it's become a question mark on our survival. And to be very honest, what it reached down to is unemployment, because, today, if you don't have sales, you don't have revenue, how do you pay salaries? And what happens is that, we've at least our sector, we personally feel that, we've literally got no support from the authorities, in spite of us giving multiple representations to various authorities, to various ministries. And somewhere you feel that, this is a sector which is one of the largest job creating sectors. 7 million people are employed by the restaurant sector, which is a very, very large job creating sector. Somewhere, we feel that we require industry status, but on the other hand, we're completely neglected to first survival. So, it is very, very difficult. The third wave, like other people on the show are saying, it's not deadly. Personally, I feel we all need a shift of mindset. We need to start treating this COVID like a flu. We need to stop counting the number of cases. We need to look at, number of hospital beds occupied, the mortality rate. And I think we need to learn to live with the COVID and let the show go on, because if we are not able to let go of this, you'll see more people dying out of hunger than actually dying out of COVID, which is not good for the economy and not good for the sector, for sure.
Okay, so that was about the current state of restaurants across the country. Mr. Daryani was telling us that 25% of the restaurants have shut down because of the two waves. About 24 lakh people have lost their jobs as well. And that's the reason why we are saying that the sector is in dire straits and it needs some kind of attention immediately. We'll talk about the measures that they are seeking from the government in just a bit. But before that, let's also go across to Pradeep Shetty, Senior Vice President, Hotel and Restaurant Association of Western India. Mr. Shetty, can you tell us a little bit about how the situation is in the western part of the country? Resorts and all specifically, because the sense that we've got is that the nascent recovery that started coming towards the last few months of 2021 has now gone away because of the third wave.
Very true.
So hi. So what has happened in especially western part and largely in Maharashtra, this is the only place which has seen the longest duration of shutdowns of hotels and in fact restaurants. In the first round, there was about 8 months of total closure. And thereafter, in the second wave, there were about 4 months. And now again, although there is no lockdown, the footfalls are dismal. Footfalls are as bad as what a lockdown is. In fact, it's down to 10%. So if you look at the cumulative effect of all these three lockdowns, it has rendered, as you mentioned earlier, also 30% of the restaurants have shut down today. And there has been an enormous amount of capital that has been infused in capital and by borrowings, etc., to come out of these lockdowns. The sector, the industry had bounced back. In fact, in western parts, in Goa, in Maharashtra, the footfalls were looking very good in restaurants. Unfortunately, the third wave came in so rapidly and it came in unannounced. As you rightly said, the entire New Year, which almost constitutes to 10% of our revenues, the yearly revenues, the New Year celebration, especially the December revenue. So the December revenue from 20th onwards was completely wiped off. All special events, everything were cancelled. in all parts of Western India, including Maharashtra. So this has meant that this was a double blow at the hands of the industry, because this was exactly the time when they were looking at recouping the losses, trying to make some money, trying to have some employment there for our employees, but that could not happen. So all in all, New Year has been absolutely bad. The only avenue which was available to the industry to recoup some money and to make good the losses, that has been lost. And now, even though there is no shutdown of restaurants in most part of Western India, but the situation is so bad that footfalls are virtually not there. So it's akin to a lockdown presently.
Okay, so even though there's no lockdown kind of a situation, yet the footfall is quite low. Clearly, people are concerned because of the third wave. Now, Mr. Kohli, talking about what can the government really do, tell us a little bit about what you have asked the government for. Because I remember, the last time at least, the emergency credit line guarantee scheme was extended to the hospitality sector too. What happened to that? Not useful?
So I'll tell you what happened.
Before I get to
Mr.
that,
Kohli,
one has to understand that it is imperative for our industry to have an environment conducive for business to be able to sustain. These frequent lockdowns and restrictions, coupled with travel restrictions, have resulted in the industry experience the worst phase in its life cycle. And every time the situation eases, there's some hope of business getting back on track. There is another stopgap arrangement, this whole rigmarole starts again. Anyway, yes. Now coming back to your question, what we have asked for, we've asked them for moratorium of loans which were taken for the tourism and hospitality sector, with just very very practical approach to it. We have not asked for 500 things. We've asked for three or four most practical things. I'll just in very I'll tell you very shortly. And the second thing we've asked for is a special resolution framework for the tourism and hospitality sector, where because the unparalleled situation we are in now, and another round of resolution framework be announced. Coming to the ECLGS scheme, see, the tenor of the loans granted under this ECLGS is 0.3, I'll say, because it is revised twice, is 6 years. That includes a moratorium of 2 years, whereas the same under ECLGS 1 is 4 years, and under ECLGS 2 is 5 years, with 1 year moratorium. So repayment schedule for the loans taken under 1 and 2 have started in most cases. That's a burden. But unfortunately, those establishments do not have the cash flow to repay the loans due to the bad state of affairs. There wasn't any business or income for the sector for almost 12 months to 14 months in the previous year. And the present surge from the third wave have made the conditions, as my colleagues pointed out, even worse for the sector. And when we speak about the hotels and the restaurants. Both of them are clubbed together. You cannot segregate one from the other. And we therefore requested the government to provide a moratorium extension of minimum 1 year for loans taken under the ECLG scheme. Of course, also working capital support with a guarantee from the central government to banks and MBS. And what is most important, we have said, is that kindly notify the 60,000 crore loan guarantee scheme for the affected sector. It's been announced, but this loan scheme needs to be coming with 100% government guarantee and long-term repayment options. And this has to be done with immediate effect. Otherwise, the colossal damages only keep on multiplying. Of course, there are many more, but that's about it, roughly. And there's no, it's not something that we've asked for the earth. We've asked for, because we are the worst hit sector. And I think we have all the right that we should expect this. If we are contributing so much to the GDP and the employment and the revenues, what we're asking for, I think, is absolutely well within the reach of the government, with no issues to the exchequer.
Okay. Mr. Param, what kind of assurances have you got from the government side? Because I believe representations have been made not just to the finance minister, to the prime minister, you've written as well, and also to the chief ministers of various states. What kind of assurances have you got? Mr. Param?
Sorry about that.
Oh, I think Mr. Kohli would be able to answer that. He's more in the association than me.
Yes, well,
Okay.
I'll very shortly, not wanting to get overly critical, but the problem is it's the time for lip speak is gone. Assurances are there, assurances galore, but we are still waiting for some kind of a absolute concrete input to back those assurances. Every time we approach them, we are told that yes, we know you are the worsted sector. Yes, we know you're really down and out, and we're not debating that, and we will do what is in our realm to do. Now that is what we haven't understood, because nothing concrete has been announced, neither by the central government, neither by the state government. So we can have all the assurance in the world, but unless it tantamounts to absolute an order or a circular from the government or a GR which walks the talk, I don't think anything is happening.
Okay. Okay, so you don't think anything is happening and something needs to be done looking at the current state of the industry. Mr. Param and Mr. Jain, I want to understand from you for the hotel space specifically. Since the pandemic, we know business travel was badly impacted. Did that also come back during the last few months of 2021? Mr. Param, to you first. Or people are still
really.
Hesitant to come
out?
No,
not really, because domestic travel did happen. Okay. Domestic business travel did happen. But the international travel, unless the scheduled flights work, cities like Bombay and Delhi and all cannot survive. We are corporate cities. We require corporate guests, and corporate guests come through scheduled flights. And not the what's it called, the balloon flight or whatever it's called now. I don't know. It's too expensive for people, and companies don't really want. There was a scheduled flight, and now up to February end, there are no scheduled flights. So business travel of international travelers, which gave us dollars, which gave us higher revenues, is out. Domestic thing has happened. And I wouldn't say no to it. Yes, it has happened, but not adequate numbers. Not adequate numbers. I don't know what Mr. Jain's this thing is.
Okay,
SP?
Mr. Jain, you were telling us that, business travel remained absolutely zero. That was badly impacted because of the pandemic situation. Did you see some green shoots there? Especially towards the end of 2021, when things started looking up, we were seeing better than expected economic recovery?
No, listen, corporate had once started work from home. So last year, in last 2-3 months, when some business was starting, there was slightly hope that corporate will come back. So they were just beginning, there was starting little opening the office of IT sector and other sector. By that time, the third COVID is come. So again, the corporate has put the people to work from home. Now, once they are working from home and not coming even to the office, so traveling is out of question. Companies and corporate is not telling their employee to travel during this period, because they are also afraid if anything happened to the employee, then who will be the responsible? So the work from home once started, again they started the work from home, and then offices are also closed. So even the people even in the city not traveling. So how anybody will come to the business hotel? So the business hotel is completely dry up. And what by FIT general travel, they are also not traveling. Now, whatever booking we have on the books, very good booking for January and February and up to the March. After December and last week, booking has started coming cancellation. And this cancellation is all up to the February end. Now people, March is not yet cancelled, but up to the last week of February, mostly booking is cancelled. People are not in confidence that they will be able to travel after 15th February. So completely 100% cancellation is happening. Those all social function also which was booked is also being fully cancelled. Marriages function is also fully cancelled. Conferences which was just beginning. Just we were hoping in January, February this conference will start, but they are also being cancelled. So in near future, we do not look revival of more or less our this year also will be this. Earlier, I was very positive, and even I gave in some interview and says, irrespective of COVID, we will do much better than 2021. But it doesn't seem, because these 3 months, which was the main period of December to March, to making us, recovering us of the earlier losses, that is hope has completely gone. Now, we have suffered in 2021, mostly hotel have suffered heavy losses. Now, in even this 21-22 also, mostly hotel is going to end up with the losses only. And borrowing as far as this
so the bookings that were made.
Yes, yeah.
Right. So the bookings you're saying, sir, that you were made till about February end have been cancelled already. And that is another concern that you are looking at. Okay, let's also go back to Mr. Sagar, Daryani, to understand what is the situation like as far as restaurants are concerned. I believe you have also written a letter to the government demanding some kind of intervention. What is it? What is it that you are demanding? Because I feel restaurants are slightly better as compared to the hotels, because at least takeaway is allowed even though dine-in is banned.
I'll tell you what, the restaurant fraternity is divided into 3 categories. One is QSR, which is quick service restaurants, and you have cloud kitchens. Now, QSRs and quick service restaurants, the category which I belong to when I represent Wow Momo, we are still delivering. But imagine and spare a thought for the guys who run casual dine, who run nightlives, who run pubs. I mean, imagine, with restrictions at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. across cities, there is no dinner business, there is no nightlife, there is no pubs, no bars that are operational, the number of bartenders that have lost their jobs. So the restaurant sector definitely is very badly affected. Delivery is a mere means to existence and survival. It's not a means to, run a thriving business and live with it. So delivery is just a small means of survival for a very small part of the sector, not the complete sector. The restaurant sector, represents various, various businesses. And honestly, we have written to the finance minister. Rather, we've been writing representations over the last couple of years. We've mentioned all the points when it comes to moratorium on payment of debt and interest payments, deferment of payment of statutory dues. Leaving everything aside, even if the government does not give us anything, they can make one small policy change that can help us. Now the restaurant sector, gets zero GST input. Now, the very purpose of GST was, to get that input. It's a democratic right for us to get that input. Now, with the 5% levy, we get zero GST input. If the government only makes a small amendment and does a restoration of GST input, it will make all our loss-making businesses profitable or break even. That small tweak is what we are pushing for. If nothing else can be done, you can't do it, you can't help us, can't support us, at least do a small policy change for which we've been knocking at the doors for the last 2.5, 3 years. It's actually affecting our businesses very badly. We pay very high rentals. We have a huge input cost on many raw materials, and we get zero input. Imagine, you are not getting the benefit of GST. The entire purpose of GST gets diminished. That much also, if the government can do, it's going to help us a long, long way. But we've been at it for the last couple of years, or even prior to COVID. It's not happened. The least that we can expect from the government is to give us some policy change support.
Okay. Mr. Kohli disagreed when I said that since home delivery is allowed from restaurants, so the situation might be slightly better. Mr. Kohli.
Yeah, see, I'm just going to further Mr. Daryani's point. Restaurants do not work on home delivery. Let me talk about pure restaurants. If we go by figures, the takeaway or the delivery model is just mere 8 to 12% of their total revenue. What do you expect to survive in this? This is a misnomer. Oh, you're doing home deliveries, so your sales have come back. No, that is absolute it's totally away from the fact. Let me tell you, we had a meeting with the Central Board of Direct Taxes. We had a meeting with the Honorable Prime Minister also, where we did vehemently put this point of the input tax credit to restaurants, and which we've been doing since the day they've started this thing. But the problem about home delivery is that if you see a slight surge, maybe a couple of percent when there is a lockdown, and as soon as the lockdown gets lifted or the timings increase, that 2% comes back to the 8 to 12%. We have seen 5 stars, and we've seen those restaurants which never actually believed in home delivery starting home delivery. That is not to make profit. That's to keep the home fires of your staff burning. You have staff. You have statutories to pay. We have statutories to pay, which we are expected to pay in spite of our places being shut. So how do we do that? So that is where everybody almost took to home deliveries. You think a Taj or any 5-star is making any kind of money or any revenue to sustain itself due to home deliveries? No, it's not. It's only just so that you can meet your statutories. The times are really, really, really grim, and there is it's the worst. I mean, I can't keep on going on and on. Because all I have to say is that the situation is really bad, and we need to do something. I mean, the government needs to wake up, smell the coffee, and put the sector back. Let me tell you, the hospitality sector has, the restaurant and hotel sector has this. It's got the power to drive the entire economy. Only we need a little helping hand from the government. We just need a helping hand, and you will see this will take
a little support is what you are looking for.
Absolutely, yes.
So a little support is what you're seeking for to get back on your feet, because of course the third wave has further impacted the nascent recovery, in fact, which the sector started witnessing like all other sectors in the country. Mr. Shetty, now could you also help us understand a little bit about the situation in resorts? Because till about end of December, we saw people heading to Goa and other places in the western part of the country specifically for their holidays, but suddenly the third wave came.
So what happened was after the first lockdown, these resort locations definitely looked better than the rest of the country, because of course people were still at home. There were lockdowns in many places, and as the small districts and these cities were opened up, staycations were happening. People were moving around, so that really helped. Post second wave also, this was good. So they were about, otherwise if they were at 70-80%, these resorts were doing at more or less 10% less than that, but they were doing much better than the others. But in the third wave, again, even the resort locations have dropped to below 50%. So that's an only startling feature of this third wave. First lockdown, there was nothing. Second lockdown, of course, the resort locations did exceptionally well because the cities were shut down, work from home was happening, staycations were there. But mind well, this does not really mean that these resort locations made money. It only meant that affordable rooms are being provided because revenues were 1/3 or maybe just half of what they would do otherwise. And that's why staycation really went up, because you could not imagine living at a place at that price. So those places were available at a lower price. So it did not really translate into a big revenue, but it helped the industry and the people in those resort locations, holiday locations, to keep their staff, to manage their expenses and to handle it. But third wave has again been very, very different from the first two waves. So to answer your question, on the whole, they still survived. They were not as badly hit as the rest of the country or the cities or the corporate hotels or the business hotels. Third wave has been devastating to everybody else, including the resort locations.
Okay. Mr. Kohli, I believe you have also asked Maharashtra Chief Minister, for example, that, property tax should be waived off, charges for 1 year should be waived off. Could you tell us how will that help and what kind of response have you got?
Anything will help.
See, property tax, I mean, it's no rocket science. Property tax is the tax you pay to utilize your property for the purpose it has been streamlined for. Now, when you're shut, you're not utilizing that property, and when you're not utilizing that property, where is the question of paying tax on that property? We've been pleading to the government that following this logic, I mean, all the statutories have been collected. They are being collected, but thankfully the government of Maharashtra has announced. And as I said, yes, there are many announcements, and they need to see the light of the day. But they have announced a tax holiday, that is a property tax holiday for 3 months, for only those hotels which housed doctors in the first pandemic. Now that means you have to make, out of X amount of hotels in Maharashtra, you start streaming down and coming down to those few hotels which helped house doctors and health workers. And out of that, there are certain conditions. So we are talking to the government that this is what is the harm or what is the fault of the other hotel which is not also been operating. So we've requested that this will be a really, really big help. A 3-month holiday does not do anything for a specific chosen amount of which you can count on your fingertips. It needs to be done across the board for the entire period that we have been asked to remain shut, and it should be across the board for every property, every hotel, whether it is because most hotels are owned. I would we're also an association that represents restaurants, but restaurants, they're most of them are not owned. It just the block is owned, so it'll be more difficult. But yes, we have asked for input tax credit for that. But a property tax makes absolute sense if you're not using the property to reiterate and to repeat myself. If you're not using the property for what it was meant to be used for, how can you charge a tax on it?
Okay, Mr. Param, of course, the list of expectations is there. It's pretty long, but looking at the current scenario, what is it that should be done immediately, or what is it that can be done immediately by the government that can help your sector?
Okay, 2 things have happened during the last week and today also. Today, the Karnataka Chief Minister has removed the weekend curfew. Okay, they had a curfew from Friday evening till Monday morning. And when people get their day off, they're not supposed to go out and step out of their houses. Now that's been removed. Okay, you had Britain which says, forget COVID, life is back to normal. You don't even have to wear a mask. So it's about time we also took a positive view of it and says, look, this Omicron wave which has happened right now, the 3rd wave, has not been that serious. Hardly any beds have been occupied in the hospitals. They're thinking of closing down certain jumbo facilities today. Allow restaurants to start functioning. Allow hotels to start functioning. Bring back scheduled flights. If you just do that enough, things will work. And it's happening around the world. Where should we be the last?
But Mr. Jain, how the question...
Yes.
Okay,
no.
But Mr. Jain, the concern still remains because we are still in the middle of a pandemic, and many clearly believe, doctors also believe that today, if the hospitalization rate is lower, sir, it's also because people have been asked to be, remain indoors. So it's a very, very tricky situation. While on one hand, the issue of livelihood, Jahan, is important, the lives need to be safe too.
I agree, ma'am, that life has to be safe. And we have to do everything with precautionary. If you have idea of recently, the UK government has completely to survive their economy and their people has complete restriction they have waived. They have uprooted all kind of the restriction. So the point is here, we are over restricted. And I just, before forget that property tax matter, see, some of the state has declared the benefit of the property tax. They waive 50%, but that is not even implemented yet. Karnataka has declared that 50% exemption waiver of the property tax, but still the demand is standing the full amount. Second, another thing about the that taxes and license fee. If you look in a legal license, our bar is more or less last 2 years it closed, and we are paying full amount of the license fee for the liquor. So these, I just wanted to add the previously what you asked to Mr. Gogi. Now, but point is this to us, the cancellation, the revival which we were expecting, if there is only one possibility, if government uplift these restrictions. Now there is a government in Maharashtra and particularly Mumbai, number of cases are very less. If government acts fast to uplift these restrictions, they allow us to do work with all safety. As earlier also, now hospitality sector people are well trained to take full care. Now our staff are very well trained to keep the safe distance, give all the precaution of the COVID what is required, and whatever we have worked last 2, 3 months, 4 months, there was not a single case or anything happening into the hotel. So government has to think the people, their livelihood is affected. Our otherwise, what will happen if government don't come forward fast? See, we are not getting any benefit of from the government. Only they have given us loan, which is becoming very difficult to pay now because the loans are due now after 1 year. The period has passed. Now from here to pay the money. Now there is no business. We are sitting on zero business. We are with great difficulty further borrowing to pay the salary and power expenses and maintenance of the property. So how to pay interest, how to pay license fee, how to pay the other thing. Daily government has enhanced the license fee to the 1 crore rupees to 5-star hotel. Now 5-star hotel bar is shut down completely. Okay. Now how to pay this 1 crore rupees? 1 crore license fee from November. Of course, we have submitted to Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, Mr. Manish Sisodia ji. This thing, we have no revenue from our bar, zero revenue. And you are increased from 15 lakh to 1 crore rupees. Now, how to pay this 1 crore rupees? We are ready to surrender this license instead of serving the liquor because there is no guest in the bar at all. Whole things which is...
well, that's a genuine problem that you're talking about. Yes, that's a genuine problem that you're talking about. Sagar, Daryani, I want to give you the last word. So you also believe that if these, restrictions like weekend curfew and all probably are eased a little bit, maybe things will start looking slightly better for the sector. Of course, there is a lot of expectation from the budget as well, from the center too. But then till that comes, do you think that can be a first step to help you all?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, completely convinced that, the restrictions have to come down. See, like you mentioned, the reason that the rate of hospital occupancy is low is also you have to understand that the government has done an amazing job in vaccination. You have tons and tons of millions of people in the of the population vaccinated and doubly vaccinated. So, when you are so confident that you've done a great job with vaccination, why not give opportunity to us to, at least give us a chance to learn from our learnings of the first and second wave and go out there and operate. Because I mean, Jan and Jahan, both have to be safeguarded, like you mentioned. And, I personally feel that, the Karnataka government has maybe set a precedent. I'm keeping fingers crossed. I'm hoping that, Delhi restaurants open up very, very soon. And this leads to a positive movement because personally, if you see, we have to learn to live with the virus. It's here to stay. Vaccines are here to stay. Boosters are here to stay. And we have to learn to go on with our normal lives. And I think we need to spread a lot of positive news now. I think there's a lot of negativity. We are only looking at counting the number of cases, any Bollywood actors getting COVID, which is highlighting that. It doesn't make sense. They have got COVID, but have they been hospitalized? No. Why? Because the symptoms are mild. It's mild because, we've done amazing vaccination and now we have learned to fight the virus. Now let's go and, fight the economy, get our businesses back on track. It's high time. It's been 2 years now, almost 2 years.
So if I may just add here, I think,
absolutely.
I think the media.
Yes, sir, just 10 seconds. I'm completely out of time.
Yes, I think the media needs to play a very important role here in highlighting all this and to give it a positive outlook. if the positivity comes from the media, it permeates to the government. Right now, what we are doing is that the cure is worse than the disease. So I think the media needs to also, through their channels, express that things are getting better, and we need to look at the economy also.
Well, that is the reason why we have you all today on the show, to understand the kind of problems that you all are facing, because job loss is something which needs to be highlighted. And we can really hope that something is done to help your industry also get back on track. I appreciate all of you for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening and helping us understand the kind of problems that the industry is facing, both the hotels as well as the restaurant sector. With this, we will slip into a very, very short break. There's lots lined up for you on the other side as well. Stay with us.